Welcome to church. We're glad you're with us. Go ahead and turn your attention to the screen. We got some announcements for you.
Good morning, RVF. Next Sunday, July 25th, will be our second barbecue Sunday, which means we will only have one service. Coffee and donuts will start at 10 and then service at 10:30. Right after, we will be grilling hot dogs and hamburgers for a suggested donation of $3 per person or $15 per family. But of course, we want you to come and eat even if you aren't able to financially contribute. If you'd like to help with the event, go ahead and reach out to Billy. Also, the high schoolers will be gone next weekend at their annual high school camp, so please be praying for the kids and also for Billy and the other leaders as they make great memories and dig into the topic of developing intimacy with Jesus through prayer. And ladies, your day retreat is coming up on Saturday, August 7th. We will be leaning into the beautiful and deep ways that Jesus draws the weary to himself. Join us as we invite him to speak and restore us. Please make sure to sign up for the event online. Cost is $20 per person. Finally, our quarterly RVF newsletter is out. Each of our staff, as well as a member of the Women's Council, has written an update on their particular sector of ministry. You can pick up a copy in the back of the North Wing or read it on our website. And that's it for today's announcements.
Well, again, welcome. We're glad you're with us this morning. Today is Mission Sunday. It's one of my favorite Sundays every single year. And it's a time where we get to highlight how RVF has joined in God's mission around the world. And so the mission of God is his redemptive initiative for his creation to reconcile and redeem all things. Listen to what Colossians 1 says. For in him being Christ, all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making peace by the blood of his cross. Our God is a sending God. He is by nature missional, and therefore his people are a sent people. And he modeled exactly what that looks like by sending Jesus, who became flesh, who moved into the neighborhood, and showed us what it means to truly love people, to proclaim the truth of the gospel clearly, to love people where they're at in their life. And so this morning, we get to worship a God who has invited us to go on mission with him. He's a God on mission, and he invites us to join him. So as we worship, let's rejoice that we get to join God in his work.
Good morning, church. Let's stand this morning as we sing songs. Praise the invisible, praise the immortal one. Praise God incarnate, the sin. Praise God incarnate, praise Father, Spirit, Son. For he is God, for he is God, for he is holy, for he holds the keys to the grave, and forever he will reign. Oh, praise the invisible, praise the immortal one. You never change, Lord. Praise God. Praise God incarnate, praise Father, Spirit, Son. For he is God, for he is God, for he is holy, for he holds to the grave, and forever he will reign. Let's sing, we lift our hands up higher. We lift our hands up higher. We raise our voices louder to the only wise, eternal by your majesty, humbled by your majesty, covered by your grace so free. Here I am, knowing I'm a sinful man, covered by the blood of the Lamb. And now I found, and now I found the greatest love of all is mine, since you laid down your life, the greatest sacrifice. All right, let's sing Majesty. We sing Majesty, Majesty. Your grace has found me just as I am, empty-handed but alive in your hands. Sing Majesty. We sing Majesty, Majesty. Forever I'm changed, forever I am changed by your love, in the presence of your majesty. Here I am, here I am, humbled by the love that you give, forgiven so that I can forgive. Here I stand, knowing that I'm your desire, being shaped, sanctified by glory and fire. Now I found, and now I found the greatest love of all is mine, since you laid down your life, the greatest sacrifice. And we sing Majesty, Majesty. Your grace has found me just as I am, empty-handed but alive in your hands. We sing Majesty, Majesty. Forever I am changed by your love, in the presence of your majesty. Forever being changed by your love, in the presence of your majesty. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well. Christ has regarded, that Christ hath regarded my helpless estate, and has shed his own blood for my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. My sin, oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. My sin, not in part, but the whole, was nailed to the cross, was nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, oh my soul. Sing, you are Waymaker, and you are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, let's sing that. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
Check, check. There we go. Hey, if you have an empty seat next to you, would you mind maybe either raising your hand or just scooting toward the walls? So that way we have a few people that are looking for seats in the back. And I think if we just had it, and I know it's super intimidating, but all of the empty seats are in the front row. So if you're a little more comfortable with the front, maybe you move up, and winner. Thank you, guys. Well, it's good to be with you guys this morning, and celebrating the Lord's Day, but in particular this morning at Rogue Valley Fellowship, it is Mission Sunday. So if you've never been with us for one of these, this is the day. We do this once a year. I'm not sure we did it last year in light of all of the craziness that we were going through. But typically annually we take one Sunday a year, and we kind of update the church on what is taking place through our congregation corporately in regards to what we call local mercy ministries and then cross-cultural global missions. One of the things that I want to do this morning before I introduce Courtney Zimmerman, who chairs our mission council. We have 6 members on our mission council, and 3 of them are with us today. The other 3 either were sick or had work conflicts. So you'll get to meet the better half of the team this morning. So I'm kidding. The other half is great as well. But I want to kind of frame Mission Sunday in light of our philosophy of ministry. If you've been with us at RVF for very long, you know that the philosophy of ministry that we have really kind of drives so much of what we do as a church. Oftentimes, Christians and churches, we can fill our time with lots of good things, lots of good endeavors, lots of good outreaches, but oftentimes we may not know why we're doing what we're doing, or it may not be connected to a greater theological vision of what God is actually doing in the world. And so one of the things that helps us as a church navigate those decisions that we have to make as leaders and councils and then a congregation as well is to have a real clear philosophy of ministry. And you know that at RVF we kind of build from the ground up. We start with our theological foundation, those core convictions about who we believe God is, what we believe Jesus is doing, what the gospel is, and what the good news of Christ is actually doing in the world. And through that theological conviction, that gives way to a theological vision, how we see life. And then we talk about ministry expression. What do we do as a church? How do we decide between various ministries to support or not to support? One of the things that as you grow in your walk with the Lord is you rarely are deciding between good and evil things. Oftentimes it's usually between good and gooderer. I'm kidding, that's a bad word. Good and maybe better things, or things that are good but may not be what the Lord is inviting you to participate in. So how do we navigate that personally and then corporately as a church? Because there are endless amounts of missionaries throughout the world. There's a ton of Christian nonprofits locally and globally. So how is it that we as a church decide which ones we're going to participate in? So that's where our philosophy of ministry comes into play. Again, when we think of theological foundations, one of the core convictions we have at the church starts with who God is. And we believe that God exists as one essence, 3 persons. This is the doctrine of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit. And from that reality of God existing in community, we discover that through the gospel, that God himself is a sending God. That as the Father sent the Son, as the Father and Son sent the Spirit, the Father, Son, and Spirit have sent the church into the world. And so by nature, God's people, God's church, are themselves a sent people. And one of the things that we've tried to teach over the last 6-7 years at the church is not to think of missions as a subcategory of the church. Not to think as missions as something someone else does in a cross-cultural, faraway land that I might give money to, but rather to see the entire church as a sent people. That as we leave this place weekly, we are sent to participate in what we call the Missio Dei, the mission of God. That each one of us, because God himself is a sending God, Father, Son, and Spirit, they send the church, his people, into the world to participate in their work of redemption and reconciliation. And so we really work hard to try to embed that into the ethos or the DNA of our church here at RVF. And that starts with what God is doing, and then, who God is, Trinitarian theology, and then what God is doing, the Missio Dei, his work of redemption. In 2016, we created a mission council for a number of reasons. One, the need to share the work within the church in that process of both cross-cultural missions, but also local mercy ministries. When I came in as the lead pastor, all of those decisions kind of landed on my desk. Rosie was here and she remembers all of those decisions that I have to make about who are we going to support and who are we not going to support. And I began thinking, I can't be the only one to decide this. This is too much for one person to wrestle with. Not only that, there are people in our church that have a real passion for these things, and we wanted to equip them to participate in what that expression would look like at RVF. And so in 2016, we started this journey with this missions council, and there's been a few people that have come on and off for various different reasons, but we have 6 people now that have began this journey with us. And today, in many ways, is a culmination on one hand of about a 2.5-year journey for this group, but also the beginning of a really exciting time at RVF in terms of mission work here. The other reason that the Missions Council was created was not only to share the work, but it was also an awareness that our global, cross-cultural, long-term mission support was something that really needed to be rethought and revamped. And so this morning, you guys are going to hear about 2 of the new long-term cross-cultural global missions organizations that we're going to support, and we're really excited about that. 2 years ago, I gave the Missions Council a book called Invitation to World Missions that sets the mission of God within a Trinitarian framework. And so this group has gone through the process of thinking through a theological foundation for our corporate expression of local mercy ministries and global missions, as well as a vision for the church. And then most recently, they've articulated and will share with us this morning how that gets expressed at our church specifically. They've determined our values, and they have discovered various ministry partners who fit that foundation. And so today we get to hear about that process and some new things that God is doing. So would you welcome Courtney Zimmerman, who's not only our children's pastor, but who chairs the Missions Council. So welcome, Courtney.
Good morning, everyone. It's really good to be with you. Last weekend, my family and I, as a number of you, were away at family camping. We had a really fun time. I think one of the highlights for me was a couple of things. One was just seeing the kids outside of the church and in a different environment. And I think the feeling was mutual, because I had a number of, especially the small ones, look at me kind of confused and say, "Miss Courtney, you're my teacher. I see you in class," you know. And then also, my eldest, Ava, her birthday was on Friday, and our missional community, unbeknownst to her, got together and threw her a little surprise party, which was really sweet because she turned 15, and most 15-year-olds that wouldn't necessarily be the way they would want to spend their birthday. So anyway, thank you to them for making her feel so loved. And just a shout out and a plug for missional communities. It really is wonderful to see other adults come alongside your children and love on them and pour into them. It really is a blessing. So I do want to start off by introducing our Mission Council to you. So we have Ron Ashpole, Kelly Harrington, and Susie Petch. They have been our longtime members since 2016. And then I joined in roughly 3 years ago, I think. And then Mike Figgith and Sarah Carlisle joined more recently. Like Kenner said, Kelly, Sarah, and Susie are unable to be with us this morning, unfortunately, but you will see the rest of the team throughout the morning. So as Kenner mentioned, our team has been on a journey for the past several years, just digging into the what's, whys, and hows of missions. And our particular focus for the process has been on global missions, since it was our least developed focus. And the journey was a really wonderful process, even just in and of itself, because it really created a sense of bonding. When a small group of people come together to mutually learn and grow together, it really is a beautiful and wonderful thing. And I'm really thankful to the team just for committing to that process with so much enthusiasm and just a genuine desire to learn for the sake of the RVF community as well as the global church. So thank you so much to the team. As we did discuss and learn together through the book that Kenner mentioned, we continuously asked 2 main questions. So the first question we asked is, what is missions? And then the second one is, why do we participate in missions? We felt that in order to sufficiently envision the future for RVF, we really needed to land on answers to these questions that allowed us to move forward with a cohesive foundation, a unified foundation. So ultimately, how did we answer these questions? Well, when we asked the question, what is missions? Our response evolved over time, and ultimately we landed on this. The triune God is a loving, relational God who by nature desires to invite others into his perfect community. From the beginning of creation, he has sought to dwell among his people and gather people from every tongue, tribe, and nation to himself. Therefore, missions is the inbreaking of God's redemptive work in the world through his people to bring the gospel of the kingdom of heaven. Essentially, God is a gatherer and redeemer. He's drawing people across the globe, including us, of course, into the most wonderful and perfect relationship which has existed for all eternity. It is not something new. And he's invited those of us who have been redeemed and drawn in to participate with him in the process of redeeming and drawing in. Which of course leads us to the second question, why do we participate in missions? And our answer to that question is, God created humanity out of love and for love. Therefore, he sends his people into the world to be ministers of reconciliation as he unfolds his plan for holistic redemption and restoration. Because we have been personally transformed by the gospel, we respond to this reality with great joy, humbly joining the Father's already begun work, faithfully reflecting the incarnation of the Son, and contextualizing the proclamation of the good news by the power of the Spirit. So we participate in missions because of our own experience of joy, gratitude, love, and a desire to reflect God's nature in the world. As Kenner said, the Father sent the Son sent the Spirit, and now the Spirit sends us. Also, participating in missions is a way for us to force our gaze upward and outward for a little bit beyond our own small contexts and communities, and allows us to see how God is working completely beyond us and without us. And I think that's a really important experience to really grasp the beauty and scope of the kingdom and how humbling that can be sometimes. So answering these questions really enabled us then to move forward with that unified foundation that offered us support as we looked at follow-up questions, such as, what does it look like specifically for RVF to participate in missions? And then how do we decide to move forward? Kenner talks a lot about the importance of having riverbanks for any decision-making journey. And we needed our riverbanks to make decisions as a missions council to make sure that those decisions stayed aligned with the unique vision and purpose that God has already given to RVF. So in light of this, we landed on 5 core values, which likely will sound familiar to you if you have spent any time here at RVF. So our first core value is faithful incarnational presence. We know this one well. We talk about the importance of being a faithful presence within the community of West Medford. And we want to make sure that we are supporting those who take that same value seriously within the communities that God has placed them. Our second core value is contextualized prophetic witness. So we know that prophetic witness means speaking the good news of the gospel through the power of the Spirit. And contextualized just simply refers to the effort to do that through the language and culture of a given place. I could say a lot about this, but essentially, this piece prevents the gospel from being overcomplicated by unnecessary demands. Our third core value is local church focus. So our desire is to come alongside indigenous Christ followers in the establishment of local church bodies. We at RVF really respect and believe that God has been working in a place long before we knew of it or felt called to it, and that he is inviting us into a work that he has already been doing. And so we want to make sure that we are supporting efforts that really take this into consideration, and take the time to really discern what that might be and who God already is working in and through in a given place. Our fourth core value is human flourishing. So this comes from our understanding of new creation theology, which leads us to value holistic ministry, which is ministry not only to the spirit of a person, but also to the physical body and to a physical community. This isn't necessarily an attempt to undermine the spirit of a person, but rather to remember that the body and the spirit are intricately connected. And then finally, our fifth core value is long-term intentional support, which actually ties back to our first core value of faithful presence. Because just as we value a long-term presence within a community, we also value that in our relationships and partnerships as well. So this means that we've chosen to value quality of support over quantity of support. And we plan to invest in fewer missionaries, but with a greater amount of resources. So those are our 5 core values. And a really wonderful thing happened in that when we got to this point, we landed on these 5 core values. God actually brought a handful of missionary families to us who were asking us and inviting us to partner with them in ministry. And it was really wonderful to have these core values in place so that we could evaluate them, not just on a basis of whether or not we liked them, or even just that we agreed with them theologically, but whether or not their approach and focus of ministry would be a really good fit for RVF, not just for our sake, but for their sake as well. And so because of this, we were able to really clearly identify how these people were a good fit. And so I get the privilege of actually introducing those 2 families that we have now approved through that process to you. And we like to think of these people as new members of the RVF family. And so our first family that we get to introduce to you today is the Perez family. There they are. So we have Emmanuel, who goes by Eman, and Jessica Perez. And they have 2 children, Abiel and Caleb. And they serve in the town of Chichicastenango, Guatemala. Thank you. Eman was born and raised he is Guatemalan himself. And has been part of the ministry, and I'll talk a little bit about their ministry in a second, but he's been part of that ministry essentially his whole life. Jess is American, moved down there on her own. They met in Guatemala and have been married for, I think she says, 11 years. And so they are now together the directors of a ministry called Acelsi Ministries, which focuses on equipping indigenous pastors and individuals to faithfully bring the gospel to their rural communities. And then they also have a clinic that serves the people in and around Chichicastenango. So we actually have a video for you to share where they're going to introduce themselves and their family to you.
Hi, I'm Caleb, and I am in kindergarten, and I like Legend of Transformers, and I'm 5. Hi, I'm Abiel, and I'm 8 years old.
What grade are you?
3rd grade.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Perez, and I'm from Guatemala. I'm going to be 39 this year, and I have 17 years being part of Acelsi Ministries, and we are blessed of being married 11 years and blessed with these wonderful blessings from God, these 2 kids that we enjoy a lot.
I'm Jess, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Greetings to our Rogue Valley Fellowship family. We're glad we get to meet you this way, and we hope to meet you in person someday, whether you come here to Guatemala where we live or if we visit you in Oregon. And we're just thankful for you. This is a little video to tell you a little bit about ourselves and to say thank you to you.
Thank you so much for the generosity that you have to us. Thank you for partnering with us in ministry. We are in Guatemala, and we live in a town that is called Chichicastenango. It's 3 hours away, going north from Guatemala City into the mountains. We live in a place that is 7,500 feet in the air, and it's 95% of the people that live here are Mayan Quiche people, so they speak a language. There is a pre-colonial language that we don't understand yet, and it's very different to other Mayan languages that exist here in Guatemala.
Celsi, where we work, has 2 different parts to it. One is the Bible Institute, and the other part is our medical clinic. The third part that comes alongside both of those is when we have visiting teams from the United States helping us as we work here with the people.
So thank you again. We hope to meet you in person one day, and God bless you. Take care. I'm going to say bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, RVF family.
Thank you. Adios. I'm going to say adios.
Adios. Bye.
I love kids so much. They're just the best. So I'm really excited about welcoming the Perez family. Obviously, we feel that they fit all 5 of our core values, but I think the ones that I'm most excited about is how they fit faithful presence, the fact that they've been there already for so long. Amon clearly, as a Guatemalan, knows the culture so well. And then also just their local church focus and their desire to equip local indigenous pastors. And then the aspect of human flourishing as well with their clinic. Also, they do really love to welcome teams, and so we're excited to see potentially how we could join them down there someday. So our second family that we get to introduce to you today is the Welch family. Micah and Victoria Welch, and they're, as of last week, 3 children. So they had their youngest daughter, Edith, was born on Tuesday. They were actually supposed to be here and be able to say hello to you themselves in person, but baby Edith decided to come, I think, 3 weeks late. So they are at home at the moment. So they are actually in the process, they aren't currently on the mission field, they're in the process of raising their support. Their goal is to go to the mission field the end of this year, or at the very latest, the beginning of 2022. They will be serving in North Africa. Their organization that they serve with is Pioneer Bible Translators. So they are going to a place in North Africa where there are several tribes that still do not have written languages. They only have oral language. So they will be starting with writing an alphabet for them and moving on from there. So they get to work on both literacy and language development with the long-term goal that they would one day, of course, have a Bible in their language. But that is a very long game, and they're excited to join in that process. So we have a video that they made several weeks ago just as a backup plan, and we're really glad that they did that.
Hey, Rogue Valley Fellowship. My name is Micah, this is Victoria, and this is...
My name's Joanna.
What's your name?
Adeline.
This is Adeline. And we're excited to be with you guys this morning. We're with Pioneer Bible Translators, and we are preparing to move to North Africa to help unreached people groups encounter Jesus through language development, translation, and literacy. A little bit about our background. For me, I grew up on Whidbey Island, Washington. I grew up in a Navy family as the second of 10 kids. I have a master's degree in linguistics, so that's what I'll be doing on the field as working as a field linguist. And a couple of things I enjoy. I love to read, and I love to go trail running.
And I was born and raised here outside of Butte Falls and attended Trail Christian Fellowship since I was a baby. Got to graduate from Cascade Christian High School in 2005 with some of you. And I went to school for nursing after high school, and I worked as a nurse for several years, and now have had the privilege the last 4.5 years of being a stay-at-home mom to our little girls, and we're expecting one any day. So
we'll probably have a new one when we see you guys. And for the last couple of years, we've been living in the area, doing a couple things. For one thing, we've been doing training with our organization to be prepared to live in another culture. We've also been doing support raising, so raising partners amongst individuals, families, and churches who will partner with us financially and through prayer as we prepare to go overseas. And at this point, we're at 80% of the support we need. And we're really thankful that you, Rogue Valley Fellowship, are with us in this, and that we get to partner with you in this global work. One of the things we've dreamed about is seeing churches around the Rogue Valley connected with what God is doing among unreached people groups in North Africa. So we're really excited about that.
So again, we just wanted to say thank you so much. We are stoked, we are honored, and just really excited to be here with you and to get to join in what God is doing together. Thanks, and we look forward to talking with you.
All right, yeah, so we are hoping to get them here maybe in the next coming month or two once things settle down at home, because they really are looking forward to meeting all of you. So of our 5 core values, I think the one that I'm most excited about with them is, of course, just contextualize prophetic witness as they work on language and ultimately Bible translation. So those are our 2 new families, and we're really excited about them joining our family. We hope you are too. Mike Figgith is actually going to come up here now and just talk a little bit about the ministries that we have been supporting for a number of years.
Didn't you guys just love those videos? Those little kids get right to your heart, huh? Yeah. Well, in 1 Chronicles, it says and encourages us that we're to declare the glory of God to the nation and his marvelous deeds to the peoples. And sometimes we're able to do that in our communities, with our family and friends locally here. But it may be harder for many of us to reach out globally and to expand our network of connections as we share the good news of Jesus Christ. So when you give to Rogue Valley Fellowship, the Missions Council has been tasked with the duties of overseeing some of those finances along with the elders and putting them in places that we can further our reach, as Courtney shared, with folks that line up with our thoughts, our visions, our purpose, and all. And on the overhead here, you can see some of our outreaches here. We reach out globally through Helping Hands, and Ron Ashpole will share more about that a little bit later, but he's our local representative, as well as reaching out in a global way as well. We have Rivers in the Desert, which is in Guadalajara, that we support, the children, the orphanage down there that you give money to, and we send to help them out. Randall Gleason, who travels to Nepal and Pakistan and India and Sri Lanka, usually teaching in Bible seminaries and colleges there to disseminate the good news of Christ, as well as Celsi and Pioneer Bible, which is our 2 new people that you just saw the videos on. Now, as you look at these things, recognize that though these are names of units and missionary groups, we support those people. Those people you just saw in the videos, that's who we're connecting with on a personal basis. Our local outreach here to the community is Westside Community Outreach, and that's the Heideggers up at Washington School, the Yellow House, as we refer to it so many times. You'll hear more about it in a moment, too. Parent Life, we support and help them out as they're dealing with
young families as they're beginning, husbands and fathers and mothers in developing their life. Pregnancy Resource Center, assisting those young ladies with births, with any counseling that they might need, as well as Pacific Bible College, which Pastor Kenner is involved there in teaching, as is Randall Gleason also. So we're involved in these various outreaches. That's where your finances go. That's what we oversee, that we might reach out and affect our community and affect our nation globally as well. So I'm going to introduce Ron Ashpole now, who's going to tell you more about the opportunities through Helping Hands. And it's over.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you guys. So yeah, great new things happening. I feel like it's kind of a new season for missions at Rogue Valley Fellowship. Very excited about it. As some of you know, years ago I was the mission pastor and I was kind of the only guy, and now we have a great mission council, and it's so wonderful to have a team working on missions, and Helping Hands International is a small part of what the Lord is doing here at Rogue Valley Fellowship, so I'm just thankful to be a part of that. One of the reasons we wanted to share about Helping Hands this morning is to give you all practical opportunities to serve. So I think there's a slide there. Helping Hands kind of has three branches. It's the local outreach, local projects, disaster relief around the U.S., and then short-term missions around the world. And we really want to encourage you guys to get plugged in service, whether it's with Helping Hands or Westside Ministries or many of the other opportunities. As Pastor Kenner shared clearly early on this morning, we are all called to mission, right? We are all called to serve. So this is just a few opportunities to serve. You see in the upper left-hand corner, that's one of our teams doing fire relief for the Alameda fire victims. As you all are very aware of, we had a devastating fire here last fall, and Helping Hands International was able to send many teams. I think we served 12,000 meals to fire victims down at the expo. We were very, very involved. We started doing disaster relief around the U.S. in 2005 with Hurricane Katrina, and we continue to do that. So that's an opportunity to serve. Sadly, it's becoming very apparent that there's going to be lots of opportunity to do fire relief again this fall. So keep an eye on our website. Keep connected with us to get more information. I would invite all of you guys to plug in and to serve locally through disaster relief, as well as whatever happens to be necessary around the country. And then speaking of local things, in the bottom left-hand corner, you see the makeover project. That's actually the Heidegger crew at the makeover project for this year. Every year we choose a project. Last year we did a park for the Salvation Army. This year it's Westside Compassionate Ministries, and they are near and dear to our hearts. A few years ago we did their main house, and this year we were able to build a 2-story ministry center for that ministry. Ben and Tara, the directors, are really excited about that, as are we. We did a 2-week blitz in June, and it was a pretty ambitious endeavor to build a 2-story building, 2,400 square feet in 2 weeks. We got a lot done. Right now, as we speak, they're finishing up the sheetrock, tape, and texture, but it's not finished yet. So another opportunity to serve. We're hoping to put a team of painters together. So mark your calendars, July 31st. We're going to get a paint crew in there and try to finish up all the paintings. So that's another opportunity to serve locally. And then lastly, you can see in the upper right and lower right corners, Alaska trip is coming up. So that's an opportunity to serve. It's kind of international. It's way out in the bush in Alaska. And then again, Mexico team here, you recognize some of the faces in that picture if you can see it from the back. That's a team building houses in Mexico. So we have, I think, July 31st, we have a team going to Alaska, and we still have room. If you guys want to plug into going and serving in Alaska, that would be great. And then in August, we have a team going to Mexico to go down and build houses for some extremely impoverished people. So lots of opportunities to serve. We've got Nepal and India and inner city San Francisco planned for the fall. So if you'd like more information about those types of service opportunities, you can pick up a brochure in the back or go to our website. We're going to have a table. We have a table in the back as you go out the back door. Want to encourage you guys, stop by there, because one of the missionary council will be there to answer questions about all of the things we've talked about this morning and more. We have brochures from the various ministries and more information to give you, so I'm sure there's going to be questions. We'd love to be there for you to answer those. Also, as I mentioned, it feels like kind of a new season for missions at Rogue Valley Fellowship. And I hope that you guys are sensing an excitement and enthusiasm about what the Lord is doing moving forward with missions at RVF. And to help facilitate that, we're going to start a monthly missions minute. So every month there'll be a highlighted missionary family or missionary organization or group or something to do with missions will be highlighted every month moving forward at Rogue Valley Fellowship. So look forward to those monthly mission minutes as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for your time. And get excited. Get excited about missions. Amen? Amen. So Jeremy's going to come up and lead us in a last song, and then Mike Combs will finish with a benediction.
I want to invite you guys to stand as we sing. Sing as I rise, strength of God, go before, lift me up, as I wake, eyes of God, look upon, be my side. As I wait, heart of God, satisfy and sustain. As I wait, heart of God, satisfy and sustain. As I hear the voice of God, lead me on, be my God. Be my guide, above and below me, before and behind me, in every eye that sees me. Christ be all around me, above and below me, before and behind me, in every eye that sees me. Christ be all around. As I go, hand of God, as I go, hand of God, my defense by my side, as I rest, breath of God, fall upon, bring me peace, bring me above and below me, before and behind me, in every eye that sees me. Christ be all around me, above and below me, before and behind me, in every eye that sees me. Christ be all around me. Christ be all around me, yeah. Whoa, whoa. Christ be all around me, yeah.
Well, I, for one, and I think I can speak for the rest of the elders. Is that okay, guys that are here? All right. I'm really encouraged by the Missions Council's work and really thankful. So one more round of applause for that group. Please receive this morning's benediction. Blessed is the community in which believers are encouraged by God's gracious call to proclaim the good news of Jesus and to live as a healing presence in the world in the name of Jesus. Blessed are communities in which hospitality is practiced both in public worship and personal lives, where strangers and guests are welcome and embraced, where the poor and marginalized, diseased and forsaken can find refuge under the shadow of God's wings. Blessed are communities in which all people are invited and challenged to become disciples of Jesus, receiving baptism and formation in faith. May we be this community. Amen? Amen. Amen. Before you go, one service next week, 10:30, barbecue, and grab a newsletter in the back. Go in peace.